Have you ever noticed how some fears seem to grow louder as we get older? It's strange, isn't it? When we were younger, we feared things like failing a test or what others thought about our haircut. We all feel it at times. And if you're watching this, chances are you felt that quiet, nagging voice inside you too. Maybe in the middle of the night, lying awake, wondering what tomorrow might bring. Or maybe during the day, when you're sitting with a cup of tea and the silence feels a little too loud. That's the thing about fear, it doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And those whispers can stop us from living the life we still have in front of us. But here's something many people forget. Fear doesn't mean you're weak. In fact, it means you're human. Fear is part of being alive. It shows up when something matters to us: our health, our loved ones, our independence, our sense of purpose. The problem isn't fear itself. It tells us to stay in when we want to go out. It whispers, "What if?" when we're just about to take a step forward. And slowly, without realizing it, we build little walls around our lives, not to protect ourselves, but to protect our fear. Now, I want to talk with you about how we start breaking down those walls. Because no matter your age, but often, it wears a disguise. Maybe you've said something like, "I'm too old for that," or "That's just not me anymore." But is that really true? Or is it fear pretending to be logic? That's the tricky part. Fear doesn't always feel like fear. Sometimes it feels like excuses. Safe ones. Reasonable ones. But if you look deeper, or traveling alone, you might think, what if I look foolish? What if I can't keep up? What if I get lost? But ask yourself this. What if you feel more alive than you've felt in years? Because fear always asks, what if it goes wrong? But courage asks, what if it goes right? Here's the thing. The more we avoid what we're afraid of, the bigger it becomes. It starts to spread. Today it's, "I don't want to walk far." Tomorrow it's, "Maybe I should just stay home." Before long, fear isn't just a passing feeling, it's a lifestyle. But you deserve more than that. You deserve a life that still feels full, even now, especially now. One way to start facing fear is by making it smaller. Instead of focusing on the big, scary thought like, "I might end up alone," try breaking it down. What's underneath that fear? Is it really about being alone? Or is it about feeling unloved, unneeded, unseen? When we understand the root, we can begin to heal. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman I met named Darlene, 72 years old. Worry about traffic, what ifs, maybes, all piling up. One day, she decided to walk to a park 2 blocks away. Just 2 blocks. She told herself, "I'll walk there, sit on the bench, and come back." Fear loses power when we move, even slightly, in the direction it wants us to avoid. Another thing to remember, fear isn't always yours. Sometimes it's borrowed. Maybe you were told as a child, "Be careful, don't do that, you'll get hurt." Or maybe someone you love worries so much, you started carrying their fear too. But you don't have to hold on to what isn't yours. You can gently set it down. I'm not saying fear will disappear completely. It probably won't. But it doesn't have to. The goal isn't to erase fear, it's to walk forward with it. To say, "I see you. I hear you. But I'm living anyway." When you start doing things in spite of fear, calling an old friend, trying a new hobby, speaking up, reaching out, you start to build something stronger inside. Confidence. Not the loud, flashy kind, but the steady kind. The kind that says, "I can handle this." And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Now, that means something inside you is still reaching forward. That's exactly where we'll continue, because the part of you that still cares, that still wants more out of life. Even though something inside us feels stuck or unsettled. But when we talk about fear, when we give it a name, it begins to lose its grip. That's why having honest conversations matters. Even if it's just talking to yourself in the mirror or saying it out loud during a walk. Try this. The next time you feel anxious or unsure, say to yourself, "This is fear, and I'm still okay." It's a small sentence, but it creates space between you and the feeling. It reminds you that fear is something you have, not something you are. And here's something else. Fear doesn't always mean stop. Sometimes, it means go carefully. Not everything scary is dangerous. In fact, some of the best things in life come with a little fear wrapped around them. Think about the first time you held a grandchild, or moved to a new city, or said, "I love you." There was fear there, too, wasn't there? But you did it anyway, because it mattered. As we age, starting over after loss, asking for help, admitting we're lonely, or even daring to dream again when the world thinks we should be winding down. There's a quiet kind of courage in all of that, and it deserves to be recognized. I remember talking to a man named Thomas, 78 years old. He had lost his wife 5 years earlier and had slowly slipped into a life of isolation. He told me, "I'm not afraid of being alone, I'm afraid no one remembers who I was." That stopped me in my tracks, because that kind of fear goes beyond loneliness. It's about losing our sense of identity. Fear will tell you you're invisible, but I promise you're not. Now let's talk about one of fear's favorite tools, the imagination. It's wild how quickly our minds can spin stories, isn't it? We imagine falling, forgetting, failing. We play out scenes that haven't happened, might never happen, but feel so real. Fear feeds on imagination, but so does hope. The same brain that pictures disaster can also picture healing, new beginnings, moments of joy. You just have to choose which movie you're going to watch in your mind. Try this little habit. When fear starts building a scary story, pause. Then ask yourself, is this real, or is this just a thought? You'll be surprised how often it's just a thought. And once you see that takes help. There's no shame in that. Whether it's a friend, a counselor, a support group, or even just a neighbor to talk with over coffee, sharing your fears makes them feel less sharp. It's like shining a flashlight into a dark room. Suddenly, things don't look so scary anymore. It also helps to remember what you have already faced. Look back for a moment. Think about everything you've made it through. Hard years, big changes, broken hearts, health scares, loss, uncertainty. And yet, here you are still standing, still learning, still growing. If your what if thoughts are keeping you from living today, that's fear talking, not wisdom. Here's a small practice that can shift your focus. Each morning, before anything else, take one deep breath and ask, what can I do today that makes me feel alive? Not what's practical, not what's expected, but what lights you up, even just a little. It might be calling an old friend, sitting in the sun, cooking your favorite dish, writing in a notebook, humming to a song you love. When we do things that make us feel alive, even in small doses, fear begins to lose its power. Another helpful thing? Movement. I know not everyone can do big, physical things, but even a short walk, stretching your arms, swaying to music in the kitchen, it tells your body and your brain, we're not frozen. And that's important, because fear loves stillness. It loves it when we stop. But when we move, even just a little, we're telling our fear, I'm still going. And please don't compare your fears to anyone else's. What feels small to one person might feel enormous to another. And that's okay. This isn't a contest. You're allowed to feel what you feel. But each time you face fear, even in the tiniest way, you're also giving permission to someone else to do the same. That's the quiet power of courage. It spreads. Even if no one sees it, no applause. No headlines. No gold stars when you face your fears, especially later in life. It sends a message. I am still becoming. And isn't that a beautiful thing? That even in our 60s, 70s, 80s and beyond, we're still becoming. Still discovering parts of ourselves we didn't know were there. Still learning what it means to live fully. Because age doesn't put an end to fear, but it also doesn't put an end to growth. And I know sometimes fear can feel so big that it overshadows everything else. But here's what I want to leave you with. Fear might always knock on your door, but you don't have to invite it in for tea. You can nod at it, acknowledge it, and then turn back toward life. That life might look different now. Maybe it's quieter. Maybe it's slower. Maybe there are more aches than there used to be, or more goodbyes than you expected. But it's still life. Still rich with possibility. still filled with little joys that fear can't touch. A warm breeze, a child's laughter, a deep conversation, a good meal, a favorite book, a peaceful walk. These moments, they are yours. They always have been. One thing I've learned, especially from people who've lived long, full lives, is that the greatest regret isn't failure, it's hesitation. The missed chances, the words left unsaid, the dreams set aside because fear got too loud. But the good news? You can quiet that voice today. You can say, enough. You can still choose to be bold. Sometimes it looks like picking up the phone to say, I'm sorry, or looking in the mirror and deciding to take care of yourself today, or trying something new, even if your hands shake while doing it. That the things you were most afraid of often weren't as scary as they seemed. They were just unfamiliar. And once you stepped into them, they became part of your story, part of your strength. It's okay to be scared. It's not a flaw. It's not a weakness. But it doesn't have to decide your path. Not now. Not anymore. So here's what I want to gently remind you. You are not too old. It is not too late. Your heart is still beating. Your lungs are still breathing. You are still here. That alone is enough reason to keep going. Don't let fear write your final chapter. Let love do that. Let curiosity write it. Let hope pick up the pen. And maybe, just maybe, the most important thing we can do now is not to wait for the fear to disappear, but to live deeply anyway. To love fully anyway. To say yes anyway. So, if something in this video touched you, if something stirred in your heart, or helped you feel seen, then I invite you to share that in the comments. Let us know what fears you've overcome or the ones you're still working through. You're not alone, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And if you found comfort, or strength, or a little courage here, go ahead and click that like button. It helps more people find this message. And of course, subscribe if you'd like more conversations like this. We're building something real here, something honest, kind, and human, and I'd love for you to be part of it. You've come so far already. Don't stop now. The world still needs your light, your voice, your wisdom, and you, yes, you still deserve joy, peace, purpose, and love. Here's to living with courage. Here's to walking through fear, not perfectly, but persistently. It just has to be sincere. Start small. Choose one fear, just one. Not the biggest one. Maybe not even the most painful. Just one that's been gently nagging at you. The one that whispers, not shouts. Maybe it's the fear of walking into a new group and not knowing anyone. Maybe it's the fear of speaking up, of being vulnerable, of admitting that you need help. Whatever it is, give it a name. Write it down, if that helps. And then ask yourself this question. If I wasn't afraid, what would I do? Let that question live with you. Let it echo a little. Because sometimes, the answers are so simple and so beautiful that we wonder why we waited so long. One woman once told me, I was afraid of painting again. It sounds silly, but I thought, what if I'm not good anymore? What if it's not like it used to be? And then she paused and laughed softly and said, but you know what? It wasn't like it used to be. It was better. Because now I paint for joy, not perfection. That stuck with me. There's something about growing older that helps us let go of old pressures, of being the best, the fastest, the most admired. What matters more now is how it feels, how it nourishes you, how it connects you to yourself. And that's where fear has the most to lose. Because once you stop chasing approval and start chasing meaning, fear has nothing left to hold on to. Let's take a moment, right now, wherever you are, sitting in your kitchen, lying on your couch, maybe walking slowly through a quiet morning. Take a deep breath. In and out. You've lived through so much. You've made it through storms others couldn't even imagine. Give yourself credit for that. Not the loud, bragging kind. The quiet, knowing kind. The kind that says, I've walked through fear before. I can do it again. There's something sacred about this time of life. It's not about proving anything anymore. It's about deepening. About choosing what matters. About creating space for joy, not because you're chasing youth, but because joy is timeless. And fear? It will still knock. Sometimes softly, sometimes hard. But the next time it does, you can smile and say, I hear you, but I've got living to do. Maybe today's act of courage is calling someone you miss. Maybe it's letting someone help you when you're used to doing it all yourself. And from where I stand, I think you're doing just fine. Here's to tomorrow, to living fully, bravely, quietly, loudly, whatever way feels right to you. Here's to fear losing its voice, and to you finding yours again.